Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Social Sciences, SOSS. Certificate in Environmental Studies, Case. TS5 Ecology, Environment and Tourism. Block 1A Environment, and Introduction. Unit 1A Environment.
1.0 Objectives. After reading this unit, you will be able to appreciate the difference between ecology, environment, and ecosystem. Understand the characteristics of environment and environmental factors. Learn about interdependence of living organisms within their environment. Know about slow and fast changes in environment with time, and understand the role of modern humans in changing the environment. 1. Introduction. Ecology, environment and ecosystem are three common words we hear almost every day in different contexts. Let us first understand the difference between these three important terms. If you look around your surroundings, you will notice that no living organism is a discrete individual or lives in isolation, but each organism is a part of an intricately linked system of living and non-living elements. And ecology, GR. Oikos equals house, is a science by which we study how organisms, animals, plants and microbes interact in and with the natural world. It deals with the ways in which organisms are molded by their surroundings, how they may use their surroundings, and how an area is altered or affected by the presence of an organism. Everything that affects an organism during its lifetime is collective I known as its environment. GR. Environ equals surroundings or outside. The environment supplies the required food, nutrient and energy and other living conditions that may influence the organisms directly or indirectly. The environment therefore can be of two types, living or non-living. The components of the living or biotic environment are all the living beings, plants and animals, with whom the organism or its population or the entire community interacts. Let us understand this better with the help of an example. If you visit a forest, you will observe that there are many interesting interactions going on amongst the plant species or between animal species. Some species are totally dependent on other species for their food, water, nutrients, parasites. On the other hand, there may be a symbiosis where both species live together, helping each other, establishing a mutually beneficial relationship. Thus, each of the species that is interacting is part of the biotic environment for the other species. The physical and chemical components that influence the living organism make up the non-living or the abiotic environment. These components are the atmosphere, climate, water, nutrients, sunlight and soil. An ecosystem is a system formed by the interaction of a variety of individual organisms with each other and with their physical environment. Therefore, it is composed of all the associated organisms and the physical features that exist in a specific area. An ecosystem can be a natural one like a forest, grassland, desert, lake, etc., or it may be man-made like a farm. It may be very small, e.g., an aquarium, or vast, e.g., the ocean. Our planet supports several broad regional types of ecosystems. These are called biomes, which will be discussed in Unit 3. This introductory unit provides a general framework for the study of the environment. We will concentrate on the abiotic factors that make up the physical environment. You will learn how the environment has changed gradually over time and is constantly changing. We will also discuss briefly how our enterprises have affected the natural environment. It will help you to understand why the functioning of natural systems can break down under certain stresses, and set you thinking about the possible remedial measures for the preservation of biodiversity and management of the environment for sustained use. Such an understanding is essential for any tourism professional in order to promote responsible tourism which goes in harmony with nature. In the next unit, Linkages in Nature, you will learn about the various linkages between the organisms and with their physical environment. 1.2 Abiotic Environment, JI. We know that the biological world lives within and depends on the abiotic environment. Knowledge of the abiotic components of the environment is important if we wish to understand the survival, distribution and adaptability of organisms in the different regions of our Area 4H. For example, some of the abiotic environmental factors like climate, soil and topography of a region are responsible for a particular type of vegetation of that region. This is the reason why vegetation of Shimla and Octomon differs from that of Jaipur and Jaisalmer. The ability of organisms to utilize, tolerate or combat the various abiotic factors is different, and it may limit their distribution, behavior and relationship with other organisms. Let us discuss some of the important abiotic factors that are crucial for life. 1.2.1 Atmosphere. Our current atmosphere is a mixture of many different gases and suspended particles. These gases in the lower atmosphere undergo continual mixing and, therefore, the composition of our atmosphere is almost the same everywhere up to an altitude of 80 kilometers. Higher than 80 kilometers, these gases become stratified, i.e. the heavier gases comprise the lower layers and lighter gases comprise the upper layers. You can see from table 1 that excluding water vapor, nitrogen usually constitutes 78.08% of the lower atmosphere. Atmospheric nitrogen cannot be utilized by organisms directly, except by few bacteria and blue-green algae. It is first converted into nitrate and then utilized by plants and other organisms. This process in nature is called nitrification. Oxygen constitutes 20.95% and is not only important for us for respiration and in the energy releasing process but for all the organisms on this earth, except anaerobic bacteria. The next most abundant gases are argon and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, COS, is the most important gas for all green plants. In the process of photosynthesis, green plants utilize CO2 and water as raw material and convert solar energy into chemical energy on which the entire living system depends. The atmosphere also contains traces of water vapor, about 1%, and several other gases. Of these, ozone, O3, which is formed in the upper atmosphere by action of solar energy on oxygen, shields all living beings from the harmful effects of ultraviolet rays from the sun. The volume of these gases, for example, water vapor and carbon dioxide, varies according to time and from place to place. The atmosphere contains minute liquid or solid particles. These are known as aerosols. Most of these are found near the Earth's surface and originate as a result of soil erosion due to wind, forest fires, salt crystals from oceanic sprays and in volcanic eruptions. Another source of aerosols is industrial and agricultural. 1.2.2 Light. The first and foremost requirement of life is energy and sunlight. Solar radiation is the chief source of energy on this planet. Sunlight evaporates water that later falls as rain. It also heats up the earth unevenly, causing winds to blow. Plants that are fundamental to all life on earth have the ability to trap some of the solar radiation that strikes the earth. As discussed earlier, the most important physiological activity in green plants is photosynthesis, in which the carbon in CO2 is changed to energy-rich glucose. This energy, that is stored in glucose, comes from light. Therefore, green plants show various changes or adaptations for harvesting sunlight. In plants there are many other physiological activities directly controlled by light, such as transpiration, movement, flowering, photoperiodism, and germination. Sunlight is also important in the life of animals. Most animals are sensitive to light. Many animals have photoreceptors, and the rhythm of functioning of a large number of animals is governed by light. Most insects, birds and animals are active during the day, but certain insects, like cockroaches and moths and some AHIMDs like bats, are naturally more active during the night, i.e. their function is affected by the absence of light. 1.2.3 Temperature. All living organisms are influenced by temperature. Most organisms survive within a narrow temperature range. In fact, each species tends to have its own range of temperature within which it can function normally. If temperature is less or more than this range, its functioning is affected and even survival becomes difficult. The range of temperature in which an organism can survive is known as tolerance limit. For any physiological activity, there is minimum, maximum and optimum temperature. Minimum temperature is that on which the activity starts, maximum beyond which activity is not possible, and optimum at which it is at its highest pace. Relatively few organisms survive body temperatures above 45 degrees Celsius. Some of the organisms develop physiological and behavioral adaptations to IVITH stand extremes of temperature. If you sit the deserts of Rajasthan, you will see that the flora is completely different from other regions. There are many morphological changes in the leaf, stem and other parts of the plants growing in deserts. Fig. 1. Similarly, animals of the desert live inside burrows to avoid the intense heat. Migration of birds from cold regions towards warmer regions in winters and back to their colder habitats in summers is another example of adaptation to temperature. There are a number of species of mammals that undertake such migration to avoid extreme cold or heat. On the other hand, many species that are not capable of migration to avoid extremes in temperature enter physiologically dormant states. For example, polar bears can live in freezing temperature, but hibernate in extreme winters. 1.2.4 Wind F. The strong moving current of air or wind determines whether CBN Ditiok and becomes an important environmental factor for some organisms. Plants are highly influenced by wind. One of the physiological activities such as evapotranspiration is directly dictated by strong or slow wind. On HLG her attitudes, where wind velocity is very high, the impact of wind can be seen very easily. The shape of the tree canopy gets changed according to the wind direction. The breakage of plant parts, branches, leaves, flowers, fruits, or sometimes uprooting of trees. Having a shallow root system is also common. Wind also helps in dispersal of seeds and fruits. 1.2.5 Humidity. Amount of water vapor or moisture in the atmosphere is known as humidity. When atmosphere holds the maximum quantity of moisture at F-med temperature and pressure, then it is known as absolute humidity. Relative humidity, RH, is the ratio of real humidity and humidity which could be held in the air at that temperature. Relative humidity, RH, % equals amount of moisture, water vapor, present in the air divided by amount of moisture, water vapor, required to saturate the air x 100. Relative humidity of a particular area is influenced by temperature, air pressure, altitude, wind velocity, vegetation and soil moisture. Hence, there is a close relationship between atmospheric moisture contents, temperature and RH. Relative humidity declines if atmosphere is warmer and increases in the cool conditions. The humidity in the atmosphere directly regulates the rate at which water evaporates from the body surface of land organisms by various physiological actions such as transpiration, perspiration etc. In case you visit any hill station where humidity is high almost in all seasons, except summer, you will see how plants and other organisms in nature adapt to this type of environment. Plants that grow in high Rayleigh-type humidity are classified as hygrophytes, e.g. lichens. 1.2.6 Water. Water is an essential requirement of life. Do you know that water forms the maximum percentage of cell contents in plants and animals? No life can survive without water. If you have read any book on the evolution of species, you would know that life started in water. If you are a student of history, you must know that most civilizations started near rivers because water is egg for domestic, irrigational and industrial purposes. If you visit a lake, pond or river in your nearby area, you will see that a large number of plants and animals live in water. There are organisms that live both in water and land, amphibious. Examine a frog in river. There are various kinds fish and other animals living in fast-flowing waters have attaching devices and can thrive in fast currents. They are capable of containing or avoiding strong water currents and can survive in such flowing systems. At the same time, there are animals that cannot swim actively and live under stones, in crevices in the river bed, or within the sand in burrows like snails, clams and slugs. The requirement of water differs from one organism to another and the distribution of organisms depends upon the extent of the need and special adaptations for conserving water. For example, aquatic plants, hydrophytes, and animals, fish, are well adapted to live in such an environment. They have morphological, anatomical and physiological modifications to allow them to survive in the aquatic environment. Mangroves that have special roots for exchange of WGEA and carbon dioxide as they grow in areas where little oxygen is available ensures adaptation of leaves in a mangrove species to exude excess salts as these trees are partially immersed in saline water. Where water is scarce, as in the desert, animals are adapted to avoid water loss. For example, the kangaroo rat is well suited to life in a nearly waterless environment. Its large intestines resorb most of the water from waste material and recover most of the water that evaporates from lungs via condensation in the nasal passage. It avoids heat by restricting its movements to night time and hiding in burrows during the day. 1.2.7 Soil. Soil is the chief reservoir of mineral elements, nutrients, required by the plants and other organisms. Plants take the macro and micro nutrients from the soil in soluble form. The quantity of available nutrients, the water holding capacity, and the aeration of the soil play major roles in determining soil fertility. This in turn affects the plant productivity and the number of organisms the soil can support. For example, loam soil is a mixture of sand and clay particles and supposed to be the best from agriculture, forestry point of view. It has a high water holding capacity and holds sufficient amount of moisture and air. Hence, the penetration of roots and root hairs in loam soils becomes easy. Single quote dot. If you cut a longitudinal section of soil, there are three distinct layers, A, B and C horizons. See Fig. 4. In fact, a horizon or topsoil is the most important one in which we grow seeds, and from which plants take nutrition. This is the reason that we want to conserve or protect the topsoil by various methods. Removal of topsoil by various forces like wind and water is known as soil erosion and its prevention is termed as soil conservation. There are a number of techniques being used for soil conservation. The B horizon or the subsoil contains less organic matter and is therefore less fertile than a horizon. Below this is the C horizon, which is a mineral layer made up of the partially decomposed underlying bedrock or sediment. The C soil's fertility is low. B _____0. All the environmental factors viz. Sunlight, temperature, rainfall, atmospheric humidity, wind, etc. do not function in separation. There is a close linkage between these factors. Light and temperature are very closely linked. Land surface and water bodies receiving sunlight get heated. Re-radiation from the Earth's surface warms the atmosphere near the Earth. When light falls on an area having green vegetation, most of the light is intercepted by green plants and a very little fraction of it reaches up to the ground surface. But when light falls on places devoid of vegetal cover, the soil surface warms up very quickly. The surface heating is more in case of stone, gravel, sand or even bricks. This is the reason that the microclimate, climate near the Earth's surface, of urban areas, which have concrete constructions are markedly different from that of villages, where houses are usually made of mud and have more greenery in their surroundings. Similarly, there is a close relationship between temperature and rainfall. High temperature is responsible for high rate of evaporation from the open surface of water and transpiration from the plants. The hot air masses moving from the sea, lake and ponds are extremely moist. This warm and moist air while moving to higher regions becomes Q1, condensed and ultimately turns into precipitation, rainfall, which is a major source of fresh water on Earth. Temperature is also related to circulation of air and a number of other factors like 1. Atmospheric pressure, altitude, vegetation and soil moisture. Hence, it can be concluded that T&E environmental factors have a close linkage with each other as well as with the living organisms. 1.3 Environment changes with time. The history of our solar system or planet Earth provides us enough evidences that there have been gradual but continuous changes in our environment. Some changes are slow whereas so are fast. 1.3.1 Slow changes. Slow changes cannot be seen in a lifetime or even in a span of 100 to 200 years. We can study such changes through fossil records. For example, the rocks brought back from the moon were found to be about 4,000 million years old, and the oldest rock recorded on Earth is about 3,000 million years old. From the fossil records, we can study the slow change in the environment and organisms of a particular region. The first organization of Earth's system took place when it melted within 800 million years of its formation. Iron and other heavy metals sank towards the center or core of the Earth, and lighter metals were expelled as gases to form its first atmosphere. At that time there was no free O2. When the planet cooled, the outer surface of the mantle solidified into a crust. After that, many changes took place through falling meteorites, which not only punctured the primitive Earth crust but caused it to heat up. This drove away most of the atmosphere's original gases. The Earth became geologically active and volcanoes threw up huge quantities of lava. Ash composed namely of gases. Evidence suggests that at that time and even nowadays gases like carbon dioxide, nitrogen and water vapor are important constituents of volcanic emission, released from hydrated minerals. On cooling of water vapors, clouds were formed, and due to the rains that followed, formation of oceans, rivers, etc. on this planet took place. There was a significant role of thunderstorms that accompanied these rains in conversion of elements of primitive atmosphere into complex molecules, which are the building blocks of life. Over a period of time, Earth's crust became more and more thick. Sunlight provided heat to the Earth's surface, and uneven heating of Earth's surface and change in the temperature caused flow of gases and water in the atmosphere. The complex molecules of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen forged by lighting discharges in the atmosphere accumulated into the ocean to form the first living organism. Life started for the first time in the ocean. There were gradual changes in the nature and atmosphere. A new organism appeared containing a compound chlorophyll which could trap sun energy and utilize carbon dioxide and water of the sea to form carbohydrates, giving out free oxygen as a byproduct. Before that, the atmosphere was made up of nitrogen, carbon dioxide and hydrogen. Today, we cannot imagine that in the early life of the Earth there was no oxygen in the atmosphere. In fact, early organisms were extremely prone to oxidation. As oxygen started accumulating in the atmosphere due to photosynthesis by green plants, carbon dioxide correspondingly started decreasing. Some of the newly formed oxygen was siphoned off by the iron dissolved in the oceans. This new combination of gases along with oxygen, new organisms might have evolved, having higher tolerance for oxygen and ability to use it to drive life process much more efficiently. This way oxygen became the second most abundant gas after nitrogen in the atmosphere, and the concentration of carbon dioxide reduced significantly. Addition of oxygen in the atmosphere made another significant change when some of the oxygen was converted into ozone. As you know, the ozone layer in the stratospheric zone of atmosphere is a protective layer for a number of organisms against ultraviolet radiation emitted by sun. Around 600 million years ago, through the process of slow changes, our atmosphere reached the stage we are living in now. This is the most comfortable state of atmosphere for life. But by increasing activities of man, this state of atmosphere is also changing rapidly, which will be discussed in other units. Changes in land mass or continental movement. According to the German scientist Alfred Wegener, about 200 million years ago there was a single continent called Pangaea, Greek word meaning all lands. There are many slow activities and events taking place inside the Earth too. The core or interior of the Earth is composed of a dense, intensely hot mass of molten metal. Surrounding the core is the mantle, a hot, pliable layer of rock. Vast flow of convection currents circulate in this region. These are responsible for volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, formation of mountains, etc. Hence, it is clear that there has been a continuous change in the atmosphere, within and outside the Earth. The entire evolution of species on this planet depends on adaptation of organisms to the environmental conditions. These changes have obvious implication on climate, which has changed drastically since the origin of the Earth. 13.2. Fast changes. There are certain human activities which have brought about fast changes in our environment. as well as in the climate. Since the Industrial Revolution, technological progress and economic achievements have made tremendous contribution to modern civilization and brought the human society unprecedented prosperity, but they have also led to unprecedented risks and crises which must be solved quickly for safeguarding the future of the mankind. If you visit some industrial towns like Bombay, Delhi, Kanpur, UP, Mandi Gobindgarh, Punjab, Tilda MP, Surat, Gujarat, Vishakhapatnam, AP, etc., you will observe that the environment of these cities is changing. In metropolitan cities, the vehicular pollution is increasing day by day and is mainly responsible for atmospheric pollution. If you ask your parents and grandparents, they will tell you how fast the environmental conditions have changed in rural and urban areas. Some global environmental issues like climatic changes are mainly caused by human activities such as burning coal, oil and other fossil fuels, large-scale deforestation and mining, etc. This is one example of fast changes in our environment, which can be seen not only within a generation but even in 1 or 2 decades. Table 2. The sources of pollution. Greenhouse effect and the changing atmosphere. Chemical pollution is changing the structure of the Earth's atmosphere and threatening to alter the climate, change plant growth patterns and expose people and animals to higher levels of dangerous ultraviolet, UV, radiation. The main sources of pollution are given in Table 2. Out of these sources of pollution, burning of fossil fuels and destruction of forests have resulted in an imbalance in CO2 cycle. Recently, more CO2 has been released than the trees and green plants can absorb. Increasing amount of CO2 is hanging in the atmosphere and has formed a thick blanket which is transparent to solar radiation and allows the visible light to pass through and reach the ground surface. But on radiation, the outgoing heat waves, infrared radiation, are trapped by them. The heat is sent back to the earth, thereby causing a greenhouse effect. The 5 gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect are carbon dioxide, Colorado 2, 50%, chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, 14%, methane, CH4, 18%, ozone O3, 12%, tropospheric nitrous oxide, N20, 6%. It is clear that out of these gases, CO2 contributes maximum in the greenhouse effect or atmospheric warming. There has been rapid increase in the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere in the last 2 decades. The average CO2 concentration increased from 315 parts per million in 1958 to 353 ppm in 1990 and is increasing by about 1.5% annually. This sounds very little, but this increasing level of CO2 is alarming and scientists are predicting that if it continues to increase at the same pace, the average Earth temperature will increase by 3 to 4 degrees Celsius by the year 2030. The oceans will rise 3 to 7 feet and submerge many small islands and coastal areas of different continents. Box 1. Greenhouse effect. You would have noticed that if you close all the windows of a car parked in the hot, the insides become unbearably hot. This is so because light can pass readily through the glass of the windows and is absorbed by the objects inside. The light energy is converted to heat energy which becomes trapped inside, heating up the car. Greenhouses built to cultivate plants work on the same principle. Since they are built of glass, light can enter in but heat is not allowed to escape. Carbon dioxide has similar property of allowing the sunlight to pass through the atmosphere but prevents the heat from escaping from the atmosphere. In normal amounts, carbon dioxide thus maintains the temperature of the atmosphere. But if the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increase, more heat would be retained, raising the atmospheric temperature. This trapping of heat in the atmosphere is known as the greenhouse effect. Second important fast change in our atmosphere is the depletion in ozone layer. You learned in the earlier section that the ozone layer in the stratosphere absorbs the incoming UV radiation, short wavelengths between 200 to 400 nanometers. In case this UV light is not filtered, it can kill all the microorganisms and can cause a number of diseases in animals and man. It can damage plants and trees, plankton and other sea life, plastic producers and also the Immune system in humans. There are certain chemicals, mainly chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, and to a lesser extent halogens, carbon tetrachloride and methyl chloroform, which are being released in the atmosphere. CFCs are widely used as coolants in refrigerators, air conditioners etc. and as propellants. In aerosol spray cans, these CFCs migrate upward in the stratosphere. At about 25 km/h, 1 CFCs are broken down by UV radiation, causing them to release chlorine, a gas that reacts readily with and destroys ozone. Through a chain reaction, one chlorine atom (S) 1 million ozone molecules. By this slow reaction, the layer is getting thinner, and scientists have observed some places where ozone is depleted to such an extent so as to form an ozone hole. The ozone layer is thinning all over the world, but more effects can be seen at polar regions, particularly in the Antarctic. When the ozone layer is depleted, UV radiation reaching the Earth increases. A portion of the UV radiation that reaches the Earth's surface is responsible for sunburn and causes or contributes to skin cancer. As a rule of thumb, every 1% decline in stratospheric ozone concentration means a 2% increase in intensity of biologically effective radiation that passes through the ozone shield. Scientists expect a 5 to 20% increase in UV radiation during the next 30 to 40 years. Now there is a lot of awareness regarding this, and efforts are being made at national and international levels to check various types of polluli and low protect the ozone layer. Having briefly considered the several components which together make up the environment, we need to re-emphasize that it is as a complex of all these components that the environment acts upon the organisms. It must be remembered that if one factor is disturbed, there is often a chain reaction ending in results that were never anticipated. 1.4 Summary. Environment is the surroundings of an organism. It is of two types, biotic and abiotic. There are various environmental factors affecting the living organisms, plants and animals, and responsible for variation in vegetation, flora and fauna on this planet Earth. The abiotic environmental factors do not function independently but are closely linked to affect the biotic factors. Environment was never static, it was and is always changing. Some of the changes are so slow that we cannot see in 100 to 200 YKARS, for example drifting of land mass and formation of different continents. But some of the changes can be seen very easily. In the present age, with the technological developments, human beings have created some serious environmental problems such as global warming of atmosphere and ozone layer depletion. These problems not only need national attention but also international cooperation. Besides, a massive people's awareness campaign is needed in this regard. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video, with next chapter.